Book 2, Chapter 13, Grace. It is Monday, at school. When I meet everyone outside, it is visible that Limerick is upset. "What's wrong, Limerick?" I ask. Charles answers for Limerick because she is crying. That girl from grade 6 was over again, making fun of her. She wants Limerick to meet her at first recess so they can have it out. "What?" I ask with confusion in my voice. I can't imagine anyone wanting to cause any harm to Limerick. She is so beautiful and gentle, caring and kind. I guess Guy Charles too is all those things, and someone tossed him out of a car. I just don't understand. "What are we going to do?" I ask them. In my heart, I know we will stick together. I know Charles isn't going to let anything happen. "I have a plan," Charles says. "Limerick, please don't cry." Charles speaks in a gentle voice. "I won't allow anything to happen to you. She is just a bully, and a bully has weaknesses." Limerick looks up at Charles, then at me. "Thank you," she says. "I don't understand what I have done. I just moved here." "I think that's the problem," Charles says. "She is jealous of you because you are so kind and pretty." As soon as the words come out of his mouth, he turns red. Limerick looks at him and asks, "You think I'm pretty?" Yes, Limerick, I do. I also think that because you are unique, you stand out among the ones that maybe feel they aren't, and that can make a bully insecure." "She is much taller than me," Limerick says in a weak voice. "Yes, but it has nothing to do with height. Instead, it has everything to do with insecurities. Bullies pick on others to feel bigger and more important than they do inside." "Well," Limerick says with a sigh, "I hope the three of us will be okay." Right then the bell rings and we head into the classroom. Mr. Willis has taken the time to write the words of our message over again at the top of the board for all to see each day. It is really nice to know that my dad and I have contributed to the saying posted on the board. Being kind to others will create miracles. We study history and geography, and no one moans this time when we take out our books. This is the most fun we have had learning tough subjects, and I'm really understanding it well. Of all days, Mr. Willis decides to talk about bullying in the schoolyard after our lessons. It's as if he overheard our earlier conversation. "Does everyone know the impact that bullying can have?" he asks the class. Limerick puts her head down. He knows something is wrong. "Limerick, are you okay?" he asks gently. She doesn't look up, but he sees a single tear fall to her desk. He looks back at everyone and asks if anyone knows why Limerick is upset. Charles and I look at each other, not knowing what to do. We don't want to tattle, but we also want to be truthful to our teacher. "Charles, would you know anything about this?" Before Charles can speak, Limerick glances over at him and shakes her head, indicating for Charles to say no. Mr. Willis notices her wanting to save Charles from coming forward. "Okay, class, let's put this together so nobody is tattling." We are shocked. It is like he is reading our minds. I asked about bullying, and when I did, it was clear that Limerick became upset. What does that say to us? A voice in the back of the class speaks up. "It appears that Limerick is getting bullied." "Okay," Mr. Willis continues. "Did anyone see anything? And without saying a word, I want you to raise your hand if the answer to my question is yes. By raising your hand, you are still keeping quiet." Everyone catches on that Mr. Willis is protecting us. Did anyone see someone talk to Limerick? One hand briefly rises from the back of the classroom. Did it appear that Limerick was being bullied? The hand goes back up. Does anyone know the details? Charles raises his hand, then I raise mine. Do you feel Limerick needs help with this? Mr. Willis asks in a gentle voice. Charles and I both raise our hands. Limerick looks around. She raises her hand, wanting to speak. Mr. Willis, she says in a shaky voice, I don't want my two best friends to get in trouble for sticking up for me. I'll tell you what happened. Limerick stands. She tells her story about having to meet them at recess. Everyone sits quietly, wondering what Mr. Willis will do with this information. He ponders for a moment, then says, Most times a bully feels less than others. They feel insecure. That's exactly what Charles had been saying. I have an idea, he says. Everyone, get out your box of patience. We scramble around inside our desk for the tiny boxes. It feels really good to know we are working as a group. No one is getting into trouble. Okay, remember what I said, that one day we will need to show patience towards another. This is the day we need to dig deep into our little box. He opens his desk drawer and pulls out a small pad of paper. He walks around the class, tearing off one piece of paper for each person. After everyone has a sheet of paper placed in front of them, he says, I want you to use your imagination, just like when we went on the treasure hunt. I want you to imagine that you are feeling insecure. I want you to imagine that you feel angry with the world. I want you to feel like nobody really cares about you. We all just listened intently. Now, what would you want your best friend to say to you? In one sentence, I want you to write down what you would want this friend to say to you if you were feeling badly. Do not put your name on the paper. Just write one sentence of comfort. Wow, this is easy. I think about Charles and Limerick, and I write the words that I have heard before. Kindness is the key to great happiness, and I want you to be happy. There, I study it, and I feel good. When you are finished, raise your hand and I will pick up the paper. I raise my hand and Mr. Willis walks up to my desk. He reads what I have written. Good job, Finn. Charles raises his hand. Again, Mr. Willis collects the paper and reads the note. Those are perfect words, he says, and places the papers together. One by one, he stacks up the papers, reading each one first. After a while, he says, Okay, do I have all the papers? No, a voice answers. I really don't know what to say. Class, can you help? Charles pipes up. Just write the word love. The student's face lights up and the word love is written across the entire space of the paper. Mr. Willis looks at the time. He sees the bell is about to ring for first recess. Here is the plan. We will allow Limerick to meet the girl as planned. We will stay close together as a group. When the girl approaches, I want you, Limerick, to say that you have something for her. At that moment, we will walk up as a group and hand over all the sheets of paper. Charles is fascinated by what has just happened. Mr. Willis knows to treat the situation with kindness. Limerick looks terrified, and so Mr. Willis says, We are with you, Limerick. We won't let anything happen to you. This will have a great impact and possibly change her behavior for good. Just think, you will be helping others, because I'm pretty sure you are not the only one being bullied in the schoolyard. We must put an end to it. Everyone is nervous, but excited too, to be part of history in the making inside the schoolyard. We have never before been involved in such a way. Okay, class, I want you to remember why we are doing this. I want you to remember your box of patience and the kind words you wrote on your paper. This day, I want you to remember the kindness we have given to someone about to bully another. This day, we fight unkindness with kindness. It is inspiring, really. I just hope it doesn't backfire. Mr. Willis lines us up in a row to give us further instructions. Limerick will meet the girl as she's been asked. Limerick's eyes are really wide. She looks terrified. What if this doesn't go well, Mr. Willis? She asks. Limerick, look around you. Look at the other 27 people who are standing behind you. Limerick looks up to see everyone smiling and supporting her. What a great way to welcome a stranger, I think to myself. Charles and Finnan, since you are both part of it, she will be expecting you two to be with Limerick. So walk with Limerick, but stand a few feet behind her, just enough so the girl knows Limerick has some support. We will stay back and watch. Then, at the perfect moment, we will stand behind you in unity to present the kindness as a group. Charles looks at Mr. Willis. I don't think that the girl will care about our notes. They might just make her more mad. What if she decides to take the fight off school grounds? Mr. Willis looks directly into his eyes. Charles, I understand your concern, but let's have faith and trust in the power of kindness. Charles nods. We each know just what to do. Mr. Willis repeats again. Now we are being kind. We are not taking on a bully. Does everyone understand we are not against the grade 6 girl? Everyone nods in agreement. We feel good about it. Our class seems to work well as a team, just like during our Day of Love event last year. The bell rings and Mr. Willis says, we are changing things, everyone. We are compassionate towards all others, regardless. Okay, Limerick, you are up, center stage. I see Limerick take a deep breath. She is placing all her trust in everyone, placing faith that it will go the way it's being planned. Charles and I walk behind her a few feet. Together, we walk outside to the spot Limerick has been challenged to go to. Over here, loser, we hear the girl's voice say. She is standing with many of her friends. They are rolling up their sleeves to show who is boss, to show their bully group strength. Limerick turns around to us, standing right behind her. Go on your own, Limerick, Charles guides. It's okay. We are right behind you, and everyone is behind us. It feels good, like we are on a mission, just like in the movies. Limerick walks slowly towards the girls. Yeah, that's right, chicken face. Come and see what we have for you. I must admit, Limerick is showing great bravery. What if she were on her own? What would happen if she didn't have Charles and I and an entire classroom behind her? It's frightening, the thought of being alone and bullied. The other girls are taunting Limerick, calling her names. Limerick walks right up to her, the bully, the tallest of all the girls and the toughest. So you think you're really clever? Nobody wants you at this school, the girl starts. She steps in closer to Limerick until she is very close to her face. Charles and I also step forward and she notices us. Oh, you brought your sissy friends, she yells. We told you to come alone. Limerick turns around to see us, and as she takes her eyes off her opponent, the girl pushes her down to the ground. Charles and I step in. We stand in front of Limerick. Just then, we hear the footsteps of all the others. You can tell they are standing behind us by the sudden look of terror on the girl's face. Limerick stays on the ground, and the other girls run off, leaving the bully to stand on her own. So much for unity. Everyone gathers around the girl, making a circle. She looks terrified. Then she notices that Mr. Willis is standing behind them, watching everything. I can see her start to tremble. I can see the fear in her eyes. Mr. Willis, in a kind manner, says, "We have something for you." The girl doesn't move. Being frightened can do that. She only stands there with terror in her eyes. The group opens up, allowing Mr. Willis to enter the circle. He walks to the bully and kneels down so he could look into her eyes. He says, "We are not here to cause you any pain or to scold you. We are not here to treat you like you treated Limerick." As he puts his hand out to help Limerick to her feet, he continues, "We are here to share with you. We want to share kindness. We want to show you that you don't have to be a bully to be important, that you don't have to be mean to others to be an important person." He shows her the stack of papers. She looks so confused. I can see she is fighting tears, for I am sure she doesn't want anyone to see her cry. He has turned the note with the word love upright and placed it on top of the pile. He gently hands the notes over to the girl and says, "We have come in peace. We want peace, and I believe you do too." He puts a hand on her shoulder. He turns to the unity circle with pride in his eyes. "Thank you, everyone. This day has changed the way of life in the schoolyard. Today is a new day, a day of peace among us." Everyone nods in silence. Nobody speaks a word. The group, one by one, walks away. It is very dramatic. I bet the plan went better than Mr. Willis thought it would go. Charles looks at the bully. She is now softened and disillusioned by what just happened. And to her he says, "Please join us for lunch any time. You are welcome." Charles, Limerick, and I walk away. I turn back to see what she will do, and she is just standing there, reading each note. One by one, she reads every last note. She holds the papers in both hands, as if she had just been given the greatest gift, the gift of compassion and kindness. What better gift could there be?